Right. Okay, guys, here we are. Uh, I have an amazing guest on the podcast today. This is Santiago. He is from Malta, and he says this is an island just below Italy. The reason why we have him on the show today is not only is he an earth angel and a healer, but he specializes in breath work. And we all know how effective breath work can be in trauma release and realignment, mentally, physically. We talk about this a lot on the podcast, and I bring this a lot in my own practice for myself and with my clients, especially in the gym. So it is a different in the gym setting, it's a little different, but we can get into that in a little bit. Just to bring in a little bit more of an introduction to Santiago, he calls himself Santi for short. For those outside of this accent, if you cannot pronounce Santiago, you better get a speech therapist because Santiago, he masters in somatic alignment breath work. Okay.
It.
We talked about a little bit about your description on Instagram and how Instagram can really limit the dialogue in this practice altogether. Um, Thank you so much for coming on and just giving us your time. I know your time is very valuable. Can we just start a little bit with what you do in terms of language and how to describe it? And then I want you to get into your story on what led you to this beautiful practice and where you are now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me here. Just gonna correct you. I'm not from Malta. I'm from Colombia. I live in Malta.
All
So
right.
no, it's totally fine. But if mom and dad are listening probably to this one in the future, they will say, no, you're not from Malta. So I
You
just want
live
to avoid,
there.
yeah, I want to avoid any kind of problems. And yeah, thanks guys for having me here. More than happy to be here sharing any kind of knowledge that I have gathered in the past 10 years. And if it can be useful for any of your listeners, great. I think that is quite synchronic that we come across into our profiles and we're here sharing knowledge and sharing presence. And yep, Santi for the shorter version. Santiago is my name. And to define it, as I told you when we were talking behind the scenes, it's hard to put experiences that touch you in a deeper level, and it kind of they connect your body, your mind, your heart, and just to put them in some words, and even to describe them in Instagram in just 400 characters, which I think that Instagrams give you. But I will do my best to define what somatic alignment breathwork is, which is the practice that I have developed, combining different tools and different kind of components. So basically, this is a practice that it has three different components, which is three different pillars. The first one is breath. Uh, and if we identify as breath as our main source of energy, so the oxygen that we take in every inhale, and kind of the one that is help us the one that is keeping us alive. So we use the energy of the breath to move it through our nervous system to connect our unconscious mind with our conscious mind and to be able to grasp some information. And then the other pillar will be movement. We use movement, so we drop into the body to be able to unwind, to inhabit the body, to connect with different parts of our body. We live in a society that is quite rational, that is really mind oriented. So that's why we mix with movement. And the other component is touch or pressure. And we use this one which entails a concept that I don't know if you have heard about it, which is a concept of de-armouring. And we can actually explain deeper what de-armouring means, but basically an armor is a shield protection that we build when we don't feel safe in the environment or in life.
Mm.
And we all build those shields uh, that help us to keep us kind of alive.
Mm.
But those shields at the end, they are preventing us for showing up in life in our best way, or to actually to connect with our essence. So the armor, the best way to describe it for everyone to understand it, is kind of the physical layer of the ego. We all know, like, hard actually to define the ego. But when we talk about the ego, people will get up their idea, okay, I know that the ego is this part of me that is trying to protect me, that is driven by survival. So it has a physical component, which is a shield that is manifested in your body in terms of contraction, pain, tension, lack of movement, lack of flexibility. So during the practice, we use touch to de-armor the body and to open the body from contraction to expansion. So those are the three components, and something that is transversal. I don't know if I'm going too fast.
No,
I
no,
have this
I mean,
tendency.
I understand it. I totally understand it because what can happen with when it comes to the breath work, what if people haven't experienced it, is correct me when I'm wrong, but there is a neurological connection, right?
Yeah, what you do during breath work, yeah, and after breath work, is that you improve your neuroplasticity, so which is the ability that you develop to create different kind of patterns or neural connections.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it will be reflective on the way you behave, on the new habits that you can create. So yeah, you're totally right. So basically, we do those three pillars: breath, movement, and touch. And the transversal part of the whole process is something that is called polyvagal theory, which is understanding our nervous system, which is the one that is pretty much running the show all the time. So we live our life through our nervous system, and that's the one that is telling us how do we behave, the one that is sensing information from the environment, from the inner landscape. And yeah, I call it kind of the director of our lives. So we run the whole process driven towards nervous system regulation.
Bringing up stuffed old trauma shit that we
Definitely, yeah.
have not.
that that we all
Sometimes we
have.
don't even know. Sometimes we don't even, we don't know what we don't know. And this is where this work is so profound, is we only focus on the things that are within our peripheral, the things that we see. And sometimes we're missing it. Sometimes we're missing the things and we don't identify them through our actions because our actions is normal to us. The
Hmm.
behaviors, whatever it is, if you're withdrawing or if you're overcompensating, whatever the case may be, maybe it's abusing substances and using maybe other things as distractions to distract you from feeling. And we're not always able to identify what those things are. But I do find that this it helps just surface that and you're like, holy shit balls, like I had no idea. And that I was sitting with this, like,
Definitely.
you'll definitely have like memories that can either come forward or just feelings, and it's all about just releasing the feelings, and it's so freeing and enlightening and
Yeah,
helps you.
usually what I would share with my clients and the people that I work is that every single behavior that we develop, it's serving a purpose.
Mm.
And that purpose, it can be divided or split into basically main categories, which is a purpose of connection, is one of our main emotional, biological needs, or the purpose of survival. So most of the times, all of those behaviors that really nasty and that they come out and we want to change and we don't know what they come in and we are aware that we need to change them, but they keep coming up because they serve in a purpose of survival, and they actually keeping us protected from something that we truly want, which is connection on the other side. So in terms of nervous system, survival and connection, are two opposite sides of the same spectrum. And every single behavior you can put in those two categories. Everything that you do is either because you want to connect with more abundance, with more people, you want to build healthier relationships, you want to connect with people around you want to connect with a job that make you feel better, you want to connect with your inner essence. But on the other side, if you don't know why those things are not happening, it's because you actually are running certain behaviors, which people call self-sabotage behaviors. I don't like the word sabotaging. I kind of like the word more kind of overprotective behaviors, because I don't truly believe that no one is trying to sabotage themselves. They're just trying to
See that
protect
word again?
themselves.
Say that word.
Sabotage, sorry, because of my accent,
So.
it's when people are trying to sabotage themselves or self-sabotage.
Oh,
Yeah,
sabotage.
sabotage. Okay, yeah. I have a strong Spanish accent,
You
so
do, but I also have a learning disability. So,
and it's totally fine. It's totally fine. So yeah, I don't like that word anyway, because I don't think that actually what I truly believe is that what you're trying to do is actually to protect yourself. So that gives you more compassion towards the behaviors that you want to change. And I think that if you are compassionate towards yourself, you will be able to change them at the end without bringing that judgment.
yes, right. And
Yeah.
I see a lot of that. I've experienced it still. And I'm like, oh, this has to be just a human condition, just part of being human. Um, so you have, so you basically you're saying that you have two different clients that are coming in. Do they know when they come in that, you know, that they're sitting with things that they haven't dealt with, that, for the survival sense, and they come in
Us-
for abundance and then they end up dealing with that? Or do they come in knowing that they just need abundance in their life?
Usually people come because they are not able to show up in their lives the way they want,
Okay.
basically, or they're not able to attract to their lives what they actually truly desire.
Okay.
So, or because their body is speaking to them in a really loud way, which is manifested through pain, contraction, any kind of illness, disability, lack of flexibility. So they come to me with this, but when we start exploring again, as you say at the beginning, we kind of start all of that shit that has been suppressed start surfacing, and we say, okay, this one is just the symptom. If you keep focusing on the symptom, you are being distracted from the cause and you won't be able to move forward. So the symptom at the end, it becomes a distraction from something that is underlying, which what we can call trauma or any experience that made you create these behaviors or these shields in your body.
So cool. And I can really see how far removed we are from our roots,
Yeah.
like, as a society, because this work comes so natural, with wisdom. And it's like our tribal chief teaching everybody. And that's why we're having you on the show, so we can just spread the word of the effects of this work and understanding the effects that we have on ourselves, over the years. But I feel like that is our life's purpose. Obviously, there's this bigger life's purpose of our biggest desires and stuff, but the main purpose is to come in as a human, as this little infant. And we believe that you pick your parents because those are the lessons that you want to learn as you grow. And as we get older, we make it so much more complicated and convoluted, in terms of what we didn't grow up with, or things that we are feeling lack of. And it could have been the smallest thing, like it could have been just taking a cookie away from you as a child, but yet there was such a big impact on that. And I think that, like you said, there is no coincidence, and every experience literally has a purpose to it. And that's where my belief is, like, that's the human experience, is to uncover these things and be a master at your own shadow. Um, so
Yeah, beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. Is at the end of journey to come back to ourselves because we keep looking for or kind of how to feel devoid of our existence with things outside.
Mm-hmm.
And when we just realize our wholeness and that we can reconnect with that part of us that is truly essence and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't need anything from the outer world.
Mm.
Uh, so it's just beautiful to remember that we are whole, that we are a representation of God or universe in this plane of existence. So
Hells to the yeah. So fucking cool. We speak the same language, brother. Thank you.
definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Santiago, what is your story? Who the fuck are you? Where did you come from? What made you get to this place? You've been already practicing for a decade, you said. What is your story? What
That's okay. That's a huge question because I don't even know where to start. I'll try to pack the whole story in this. How long do we have? I
this
don't know,
is
30
this
minutes.
is your
30
show,
minutes.
buddy. This is your show.
So basically, as I told you, I'm from Colombia. Mm, everything I will say that it started 10 years ago, what I will call my dark night of the soul, kind of that deep awakening call, which is I had this dream life when I about 10 years ago. I'm an industrial engineer by profession. I was doing my master degree in project management. I was working in the corporate world. I had a beautiful girlfriend. We were kind of engaged. Everything was perfect. I was living the dream. But little I knew kind of that dream that I was living, it was not my dream, but it was my parents' dream or the society dream. And I think that many people can relate to that, which
Mhm.
we have been sold this idea of your life needs to be this way, and you keep following that path, but you don't feel truly fulfilled. You just keep doing it in automatic mode, and you just keep going and going and going until something happens, and you just realize that things are probably not as great as you thought, and in this case, as I thought, which is I broke up with my girlfriend, and everything, kind of the house of cards fall apart. And yeah, I felt literally that life didn't have any more sense by that time. I had only a great job as an engineer. Uh, I was finishing my master degree. I thought that everything is actually what I wanted to do. But as soon as something actually was out of the puzzle, the whole puzzle didn't make sense. And I started, yeah, wondering, okay, what do I want to do with my life? And yeah, that was the awakening call. And I went into a really dark place trying to feel that emptiness. If anyone have gone through that process of grieving a person, you just try to feel it or to make the puzzle be completed again with different pieces that they actually don't fit. So I started alcohol, the different kind of women, and going to parties every single day, traveling. I traveled in that year in 6 months. I went to different countries in South America, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile. So I did all of that. And at the end, I will come back to my place at night and going to sleep. And I was feeling still empty. So nothing actually was helping. And I will connect that with what I told you, which is at the end is a way to remember that you are whole already, that you don't need to feel the emptiness with anything from the outer world, that you just need to remember that and reconnect with your true essence. So everything started there. And yeah, the whole journey unfolded from there. I started studying, and after touching rock bottom with those coping mechanisms, I met my first mentor, which he was a philosophy teacher. And I started getting into philosophy, and philosophy started not giving me answers, but better questions. And I usually say, like, you ask yourself better questions than the ones that you're asking, you probably are finding certainties, not necessarily straight answers on what to do or how to do it. But certainties are those small steps that you know, okay, this one is the path that I want to follow. So I started studying ancient philosophy and Jungian psychology.
Mm.
Mm, and yeah, everything kind of started making sense. But then at the end, I said I couldn't kind of stay back in Colombia, and I decided to leave and went to New Zealand. I live in New Zealand. I wanted to go like New Zealand. If you go to the map, it's like far away. It's at the other end of the world. Like when you compare it to Colombia. So,
It is.
so
It's far
people,
from me too.
yeah. So
Yes.
people were telling me like, "Hey, mate, like, why are you going to New Zealand?" And my excuse was like, "I want to learn English." And they say, "Yeah, but go to the US. It's just a couple of hours from Colombia." And I say, "No, I want to go literally where I don't know anyone, where the culture is just so different than here that so people would suggest me go to Canada, go to the US, and I just wanted to get away. Literally, I wanted to start from zero. So I went to New Zealand, and again, problems they travel with you. It's not that you change the place and yeah, everything is great now and
Mm.
let's start over. So even when I was building some tools, I would say more intellectual with philosophy and psychology.
Building that
Was still
intelligence.
yeah, it was still something missing, like a piece that was missing there, and that piece at the end ended up being the body, which is what we do now with breathwork and somatic alignment. And the way I got into breathwork is because in New Zealand, I started scuba diving. If you have never done it, best thing you can do in your life. That's another kind of enlightening experience to go underwater and see a different world. Probably recommend it to everyone that's listening.
Yeah, especially yogis who only breathe through their noses.
Yeah, that, that's true.
I've heard some traumatic stories from people who only practice yoga and they only breathe through their nose, and when they go scuba diving it's a little traumatic because you got to breathe through your mouth, and if you're not
Yeah,
used to doing that, it's yeah.
it's a way to teach your body, like that you can master your body to do what you truly want. Have you done scuba diving by the way? Like,
Not
no?
scuba diving, or I mean, like, yeah, not with the tank.
Okay, okay.
Are you talking about the tank?
Yeah,
Or
thank
yeah, no, I haven't done that, but I have had the snorkeling. I've done snorkeling.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So no, what I did was scuba diving for the first time, and then when I came up to the surface after diving, I say like, whoa, fuck! I literally fall in love with that. Literally, I this is something that I want to take serious in my life, and because I was looking for answers, I think that was a divine message into, okay, Santi, I'm gonna give you something different than the engineering career that you can follow. So I started um, getting prepared. I'm following the career of a scuba diving instructor. Just right before I got certified, I didn't pass because you have different tests where they check your lung capacity, your respiratory functionality, like how your lungs are working. If you can dive anyway, but if you want to teach, you need to pass certain tests. And when I did the test, I didn't pass because I used to have asthma since I was a kid. And they told me, no, you cannot. You can dive, but you cannot teach because asthma won't allow you to have enough lung capacity and to store enough air to be able to take care of your students. And as conventional medicine will say, once asthmatic, you're always going to be asthmatic. Apparently, it's something that you cannot cure from conventional standards.
Liars. I have asthma. I
Okay,
had asthma as a child and then it went away. And then I got it again as an adult.
definitely, yeah. So I realized
But I
my
cured
my
through breath work.
my question by that time it can be possible that whoever I believe God, universe, put me into this space where it show me this world and kind of give me a purpose to follow that world to become a scuba dive instructor. And at the end, I'm so close because I did the whole career, which you need to spend a lot of money. There are like different courses that you need to pay. You need a certain amount of dives to become an instructor. And at the end, I couldn't do it because of my respiratory capacity, because of my physiology. I think that that's not possible. Like literally, it must be a way that I'm not going to be dependent on inhalers, and I can improve my breathing capacity. And then that's the way I connected to breathwork. Not And at the beginning, it was not from the kind of a spiritual side of breathwork, but more from the scientific approach of breathwork on how to actually use your lungs and improve your lung capacity by stretching your lungs, doing different breathing exercises. And it took me 6 months to change my diet, to start doing some exercises. Then I presented the test again and I passed. So literally in 6 months, I was able to change the whole narrative that I was being told since I was a kid that no, you are asthmatic, you need to be always with an inhaler. And I was just by researching, I connected with this doctor in the US. I don't know if you have heard about her, which is called Belisa Branich. She's
Lisa
into
Branage?
Lisa Branich. She has a beautiful book which is called Breathing for Warriors, where she teach all of this stuff from the physiological and from perspective and from the breathing anatomy. How can you actually get better at breathing? And if you get better at breathing, you get better at everything. Because
Mhm.
as I say at the beginning, it's your main source of energy. And literally, I'm not lying, in 6 months, everything changed. I said, this one has something there. It has to be something with your breath that we are dismissing and we are not acknowledging that is so powerful that it's actually worth it to keep exploring it. So from there, I kept going. And then I started traveling around Asia, studying also more about the body, more about the spiritual, energetic kind of field from breathwork, from how breathwork will help you to restore that state of alignment. I study also the practice of the armoring that I was telling you before. But yeah, just packing the whole story was coming from a breakup, then traveling around and falling in love with the scuba diving.
It's such a beautiful contrast that you got to experience. Um, and hey, in order for us to get to that purpose, sometimes we have to hit that point. I don't want to call it a rock bottom because everybody's rock bottom, it looks so different. Like
Hmm.
when you think it would be a rock bottom, it's still not. You can hit that place like so many times until just eventually when you're just ready. And not everybody gets there. So I'm so glad to hear that you pulled out of the distractions and coming to your senses that our home is within us. It is.
Mm.
It's wherever we go. It doesn't matter. You could pack a bag and go wherever, but if you think you're able to travel away from your problems just follow you everywhere you go. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. Okay. So now let's keep going with this. So you realized that there was something more to it. So you noticed in 6 months that you had cured yourself, basically. So you got
Yeah,
your certification through scuba diving, so you could teach.
yeah.
So did you continue teaching scuba diving, or
I
did you get right into the breath work and start teaching that?
I started exploring both of them. At the end, I got certified as scuba diving and breathwork. It was just something that is being kind of initiated. I was just okay, so into it. I was here is something that is interesting. That even when I got into breathwork, just with the main purpose of changing my lung capacity or improving my respiratory functionality, I cannot dismiss that it was actually impacting my whole life on the way I processed certain events, and I was being more calm, and the way I was showing up in kind of different experiences, and the way I was showing up in my life. So I was, yeah, it's not just about the body, it's also about the, I would say that the three different dimensions, which is body, mind, and energy, the three of them are connected. So, and when you make an impact in one of them or make a shift, the other ones are going to be impacted also. So I kept going into scuba diving, but on the side exploring more about the power of breathwork. And by that time, I was in New Zealand. I moved to Australia, and I met this meditation teacher that also allowed me to get deeper into knowing myself and connecting with my true essence, which I might say that I'm still doing, because people think that when you start kind of your healing journey, you get to a point when, yeah, I'm done. I will say, no, there's always something to discover, and not because it becomes obsessive that you always need to do something. And I will say that probably healing can become obsessive with people, that they always want to keep deeper and deeper, keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. But there is always something to improve if you look from that point. I mean, you can look back and say, yeah, I have done a great job, and you celebrate yourself. But then
Mhm.
you look forward and you say, no, I still have many things to do. So it's not that I have reached any state of enlightenment, not even that I want to be enlightened either. I'm just living the human experience with more kind of consciousness and being aware of my patterns, my behaviors. So I traveled to Australia, I got into meditation, and as I said, it just kept going with different practices. Then I moved to Philippines. In Philippines, I lived for a while and I got introduced to Taoist practices, which is a more energetic approach of breathing, how to boost the energy that is running through your
You
system.
haven't even done any energy work yet.
No, by that time in Australia, I started working on the side with this meditation teacher. So
Okay.
she was facilitating workshops, and I got certified as a breathwork facilitator. And
Awesome.
then I kind of started helping her. As on the side, I was not fully committed yet to, okay, this is what I want to do for life. Until one day, I did kind of a trip all around Southeast Asia. And when I went back to Australia, I said, I just
Mhm.
don't want to keep doing things kind of, yeah, like when you start something new, you don't
Like
know that you want to be
dabbling
full,
in.
yeah, like tiptoeing into there, like, yeah. So I said, no, I need to follow what the Buddhists call the Dharma, and,
Mm.
and the call, which I was so clear what was the call, and I need to fulfill that. So you need to pay attention to the call, because that voice, I usually say, is never gonna shut down. Like that little voice that is talking to you and is telling you, you know better than this.
Yes.
You betraying yourself. You know better than this, Santi. So that voice was always there, which we can actually relate it to the hero's journey, kind of the awakening call, when the hero has the call of becoming a hero. And then I say, okay, I'm gonna leave Australia. I moved to Philippines. I went to study Taoist practices, and from there I started, yeah, just developing my own practices, facilitating workshops all around Southeast Asia, Philippines, Indonesia. I lived for 3 years there, and yeah,
Wow.
here I am. I keep studying, keep evolving my practice, keep serving at the end, and where I am now.
We are students for life in this, we call it Earth School.
Yeah, yeah, it's life at the end. Yeah, it's a journey to learn, unlearn, keep on learning,
That's right.
and coming back to yourself. And as we say at the beginning before we recorded, if what you're learning, you're not putting those skills or those teachings to the service for the greater good of all, there is a missing piece at the end, like greatest or the ultimate purpose of every single human being is to serve the
Yes.
human consciousness.
I'm glad you're talking about this. I wanted to revisit that conversation because I thought it was, yeah. So let's talk about the serving part because it does come down to, well, we got to fill our cup first. When we have those pieces missing, it is really hard to serve and show love outside of yourself when you're not showing it for yourself. fully.
Hmm.
It's not a sustainable way of living. Same idea of looking for the external things to fill your soul, the materials, the relationships. Sometimes we can look outside if you don't know better, because you can't unsee the shit. Once you learn it and once you feel and you see that contrast, you can't go backwards. So if you haven't got there yet, you're there, haven't fully experienced it, or you're in complete denial. But going back to part of your conversation when you were talking about that transformation, I wanted to help clarify, because even like, I'll speak for myself, and I know that someone's always going to be able to resonate with her story a little bit. I always saw it as like that thing, that enlightenment, it's just going to happen, boom, one day. Like, it's like this awakening, like, holy shit, my life's going to change. But transformations take time, and we have to honor that time. And like you mentioned, using these little tools, bringing them in, adding them to our tool belt, using them when life presents itself in that way, does eventually bring us to that purpose. And so that's what I would call filling our cup, because eventually, once your cup is filled, that sense of service that we were talking about, that's where it really presents itself. It's like, okay, now that I filled my cup, I need to serve the world in a way that is
Hmm.
going to feel fulfilling. And it comes with flow and ease. There's zero resistance because we did that work already. Now we can live in this abundant mentality and now give. And that is exactly what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. But again, we're constantly learning. We're never going to live the same scenario ever again in our life. It's always going to be something different. And we might not always be present to that, but that is life kind of throwing us these curveballs from time to time. And we're going to have to find ways to manage ourselves through that. And it's through practices like that that helps prepare us for these endeavors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Funny that we brought that up. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my clients, and he asked me, "So you don't have any kind of struggles in your life now, Santi?" And I say, "No, I do have them. Like life doesn't become more like easier or what we develop is, as you say, we develop resources that allow us not to stay there in that kind of victim mentality, but allow us to come back up to the surface. And those resources start with the awareness or the self-awareness that we develop, that we can actually master our life the way we want
Mm-hmm.
and come out stronger. So at the end, what we're doing is becoming more resilient. That okay, we
Mm-hmm.
allow ourselves to be in that hard spot or to go through the struggle, but we don't avoid the struggle. We don't avoid the pain because we know that it's part of life, but we also take the decision, the conscious decision, not to suffer, because what is suffering is when you take pain for a certain amount of time and you keep developing that victim mentality and staying into the state of pain. So we decide not to suffer and come back up stronger and more resilient according to those struggles or obstacles and challenges.
That's so badass. And you couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
I've seen that word of resilience in my dialogue quite often when I teach. Um, thank you, daughter. Yeah, we got the 13-year-old coming home from school. There we go. Coming right in the middle of the podcast. um,
That's why it's raw, no?
yeah, this is it. Non-edited. No, no.
Great.
This is the reality of life. It has its own, what is it, own fork in the road. There's so many ways to describe it. I don't know why that just came to my mind. um yeah, so that was distracting, so I kind of forgot what I was talking about there.
we were talking about resilience, that at the end
Oh, the
it's
resilience.
it's
Thank
not that life becomes smoother or easier.
you.
Life keeps unfolding with the struggles, with the challenges, with the problems. And
Yeah,
we just learn how to navigate those struggles with a different state of consciousness, if
that's
you
right.
might say.
That's right. So what do you do? You said movement, because I bring the word of resilience. Well, yes, I bring it into my meditation classes, but I also, because I'm a personal trainer, fitness instructor of functional fitness, I bring that word of resilience into the gym. And I find everything that we're talking about definitely resonates along with that. Um, with that being said, yeah, there's sorry, there's just so many things around that. And I guess too, I've been around so many clients. So my right now, what's happening is my cup is full. I've been facilitating a lot lately. So a lot of just working on the podcast, my businesses, a lot of teaching. So this weekend, I have a retreat coming up. Um, Obviously, this will be in the past by the time this podcast is dropped. This episode's dropped, but it is a retreat for more for me to receive, and I'm really looking forward to it.
What
And
kind of retreat are you doing?
it's about everything that we're talking about, to be honest.
Great,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of healing, a lot of self-discovery. A lot of other healers are going there to this event. So it's going to be so nice to connect with a lot of like-minded individuals. Everybody's kind of on the same path of just sharing the word, sharing their practices. But it's
beautiful.
well, this is it, like we can give constantly, but if we're not replenishing our own soul, that's a cause for burnout. And yeah, I right now I'm at that point where I'm like, whoa, I'm feeling like foggy. I'm getting tired, and it doesn't matter what the sleep I have and the food that I'm eating and how much water I'm drinking. I can feel that it's time for just a small little replenishment break, plugging in that battery, recharging that battery. What do you, because you obviously facilitate quite a bit. Okay? I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
What is your go-to for replenishing your battery?
I like that analogy that you're doing of logging in, because
Mhm.
usually what I say is like people pay more attention to the battery of their phones or their than the battery of themselves. You know, if you see everyone, they have power banks and they need to charge the phone every 2 hours. But when it comes to our own energy, we're not even aware when it's being drained or when it's leaking. So
Yes.
yeah, great part of developing a practice to reconnect with your own source is to be self-aware when those levels of energy are being drained. So in terms of my practice, I have I started facilitating around 5, 6 years ago. And then kind of as a newbie, you just want to do as much as you can, and I remember trying to get as many clients as I could in one day. But then it will be like affecting me on the way I show up for my clients. My sleep will be really, really depraved. And it was anyway, it was hard. I was getting really triggered by the environment. So I started developing these non-negotiables, which is okay, usually because I hold the spaces kind of one-on-one. So I limit the spaces that I hold for 8 people a week, because I know that that's kind of the amount. If I surpass that limit, it will make me feel overwhelmed. The time that I have before and after every single session for me is crucial also. So I don't book two people with more with less than 2 hours kind of in between,
Mm.
because I need that space usually before you come to one of my sessions or one of my workshops. I take 1 hour or half an hour if I don't have enough time because I'm doing certain stuff to meditate. So I sit in meditation. Where do I start from a place of connection? Yeah, because I won't be able, and I will relate to what you were saying. You cannot serve from an empty cup. So my meditation practice, my breathwork practice are the resources that allow me to keep my cup filled. So at least 1 hour, 30 minutes before every session, I have a meditation practice. I do a prayer. I go into my breathwork practice just to make sure that I'm in a place of connection. If we take it back to those kind of two categories that I told you at the beginning, connection or survival, and
Yeah.
I'm not in a place of survival. Because if I'm facilitating from a place of survival, it can be actually more counterproductive for the people that are coming for me for help, and I will be causing more damage than helping them. So I just make sure that we'll be able to connect with them in that place of regulation. And after the session, I have also my cleansing practices where I try to connect with nature as much as I can. I go to the ocean because I feel that the ocean will help me to
Mm.
clean my energy field, to be more connected to my essence. So in terms of specific practices, that's what I do, at least to time the sessions and the workshops that I host with a certain amount of time that allow me to connect with myself.
Good. So good. So important. Um, oh yeah, the other question I had, you were talking about movement.
Yeah.
Yes. Can we talk about that?
So yeah, movement is, as I said, one of the main components of my practice is because when we talk about trauma, which is kind of the way or my approach, healing trauma, breathwork, and somatic practices, one of I would say of the main consequences after someone experiences trauma is that they create a disconnection from their body. So when you see people that they have a struggle with certain traumatic experiences in their life, they tend to dissociate from their body a lot. So they're not fully connected to their body. So when we approach movement in our session, it's not with a specific agenda, but just to allow the breath to unfold through their body when the body is moving. So we start breathing, and I just suggest to people to start moving. And if they're not moving, I try to ignite that movement in a spiral way, in moving their hands, moving their limbs, in doing somatic meditations where they connect with the part that is numb, with the part that is holding the contraction, the tension, because usually a part that is holding the memory. And if we go back to trauma theory, that's what we call the implicit memory. There's an explicit memory which is held in the mind, and the implicit memory that is held in the body. So the body has its own wisdom and its own memories. And I try, or I try no, because I don't like the word try actually.
Yeah,
What
thank you.
we what what we do, I'm catching myself there. Yeah,
Good.
calling myself out
That's
because
awesome. Hey, we all do it. It's just it's beautiful that you corrected yourself.
yeah, great.
That's
So
great.
not that we try, we actually do it in
Thank you.
every single session to connect people with their bodies and freedom of movement, that they can move with ease. And as I say, it's not approaching movement with a specific agenda, because most of people will tell me like, oh, Santi, but I'm not flexible, but I don't have rhythm. But it's not about rhythm. It's not about flexibility. It's about connecting to those part of you that are
Mm.
fragmented, that are numb, that are not feeling connected to the self. So that's what we do.
So what like how do you get someone started for movement? I mean, it sounds like a little bit more of like almost like a flow dance type of thing.
It is that way actually. So
Okay.
what we do is teaching certain breathing exercises, moving the body, as I say, scanning the body and trying to find where the memory is being charged, where the trauma is being held. So connecting with that area, and I just start helping them on how to move, as you say, in a more flowy way, in a more watery way. There are different practices that we also can suggest and we can do in different sessions. If we take it back to Taoist practices, they have shaking exercises that they help a lot to connect with your body and to move the
Like
energy.
the
So so you have different ways of shaking. You have a masculine way of shaking, which is quite strong and quite rigid, and you have a feminine way of shaking, which is based in the movement in your hips. And if we
mm,
take it to the chakra system, in the hips is where the second chakra is located and is the source of creativity. So it's the source of movement, it's the source of your sensuality, and every single human being is sensual on their own. So what we do is, yeah, connect with that movement to a certain extent. Some people are more rigid than others. So we can start with those that are rigid or that they're really stiff or that they are in immense kind of pain or chronic pain just by moving their fingers or moving their hands. Okay, how does it feel to move your fingers while you're breathing and you're connecting with that part of your body? Okay, it feels different. I never done that in a way that is conscious, in a way that I'm aware that I'm moving, because moving at the end, we just walk all day and that happen in autopilot. So moving with a kind of a conscious approach is different than just moving.
100%.
Yeah.
I've heard over years of well, mostly men, but women too, who have physical jobs. And well, I don't go to the gym or I don't work out because my job's already physical. And I go with that analogy. It's like, well, but that you're doing that, that's your normal. You got to do something outside of that scope in order to achieve some sort of transformation or difference, whether you're looking to change your body or fulfill that energy release. Because that's not fulfilling when it's every day, same thing, same job. It's different. You got to kind of shake it off. So like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What we say is break the pattern. The pattern at the end is a way of your mind and body to preserve your energy. So the less that you do, the better. But the less that you do, the harder it will be for you to change and transform your life. So if you keep kind of doing just the minimum in order to conserve or preserve the energy, so you won't be able actually to manifest a greater way of living your life. So yeah, it's just about changing or pattern interruption.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So interesting. Yeah, I'll share this real quick. It's a friend of mine. She's on her story right now and she's doing this cleanse and she's literally releasing a shit ton of parasites out of her body, like shitting them out.
Those are powerful. Yeah.
Yes. And we talk about obviously there's the connection in the mind and the doctor that's facilitating the retreat that I'm going to, he's a Chinese medicine doctor, and he specializes in finding those infestations and finding the trauma behind it, and
Hmm.
then learning how to rebuild the gut bile and all the things. But it is really interesting that we lose that part of understanding on if you are dealing with anything in the gut or in the body and you're doing all the right things and you're still feeling a little bit heavy or brain fog or whatever. I've had this where, it didn't matter what I did with my diet. I did not at the time, I did not equate it to the energy side when I was going through it. I didn't know that there was a connection. So there is a connection to, a more traumatized, part of our brain that we haven't touched yet. And that is the reasons why we bring in these infestations and our bodies just can't fight them off. So it's a really interesting connection. I'm really excited to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that, but I don't know. I just thought I had to share that. Santi, how I want to ask too, do you have retreats? Like, do you do retreats? And do you have any workshops going right now?
So yeah, we have retreats. I usually host retreats with my partner. She works with energy, with Kundalini energy,
Mm,
and we have a retreat that is called Trauma Healing Retreat, and we host it here around Europe for everyone that wants to come. We have it in Malta. There's another one in July coming in Latvia, which is already filled up, and probably in November we're gonna have another one in here in Malta again. So basically, what we do in that retreat is to explore the main five childhood wounds that they might be still impacting our behaviors in our adulthood. So it's betrayal, rejection, abandonment, injustice, and humiliation. And we
mm,
we we all have gone through those. Yeah, this is not that I haven't met anyone that will tell me, no, I have never been betrayed, I have never been rejected, or I have never felt that way. So usually what I will say is like, give me 5 minutes, I talk to you and I'll show you that actually that there's something there that
yeah.
you have not processed yet. So we have that retreat going on. As I told you, the next one that is open is November. And now at the moment, kind of what I'm doing is training people also in this practice, which is somatic alignment breathwork. And my training is coming in October. I have people coming from Canada. Also, if you want to join, you're more than welcome. And that's
Hell,
5 days learning this process of how to integrate breath, movement, and de-armouring practices to take our body back to alignment with our true essence.
ooh.
So that training is from the 19th until the 23rd October here in Malta, and yeah, that's what I have at the moment.
Do you do anything online?
I do work online also, so I have private sessions online. If anyone is interested now, bookings are open just for August because June and July is fully booked. So yeah, I
Busy
work
man.
also. Yeah,
Good for
it has
you.
been busy lately, and I work with a lot of people from the US and Canada also. Doesn't matter the time difference. I try to make it happen usually.
Yeah, because they're the two most far removed countries in the world. Our government, I mean, everybody's government's probably a little bit fucked up, but ours is very interesting. We're going through big transitions right now. It's a little scary.
I can imagine. I think that is the big shift happening now in our world, you know?
Yeah. And aren't you seeing the the importance of this work more and more?
Definitely.
Because you
Definitely. I
must be
think
getting new people all the time.
what I will say is that COVID, it was the great awakening. It was a big call to make a shift. We started looking outside, started looking inward, because they gave us time at the end. You couldn't go out. You couldn't distract yourself from your own pain. So
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna look inside and say, oh fuck, here is something that I've been just not paying attention for my whole life. How am I gonna deal with that? And so many people start kind of coming back up and awakening from that difficult situation, which is it was the pandemic. So a call.
I like how you called it the big awakening.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah. It's so true. We've talked about this a lot. I got during that time was dark for me. I lost my best friend. Um,
Mm,
and
sorry
then,
about that.
thank you. Yeah, she was a huge impact in my life, and I miss her a lot. So during that
Mm,
time, I just went down the rabbit hole. Saw the end of the multiple bottles of wine.
mm.
But eventually, I mean, you can't live like that. And eventually, coming out of that was like, there's got to be something more. And that's where my big awakening came.
And look at that. You're a more resilient human being now and doing great
Right.
work for all the humans around you. So yeah, I know that it was a hard and difficult situation for many people out there,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a great shift. in the way we doing things. It was kind of telling us, look, the way you like kind of the society that you have built is not sustainable. Literally not sustainable. Like keep pushing, keep doing that kind of overachieve in mind. Like that's literally not sustainable. Look inside, look within, and you will be able to find some answers. And so I think, yeah, COVID was that tipping point on the shift in human consciousness.
Yeah, bringing us back to our roots, right?
Yeah,
Really realizing the distractions that have been laid in front of us to distract us from thinking for ourselves and depending
definitely.
outside of us. That part is very much promoted through
Yeah,
media, news, TV, whatever, even
yeah.
movies.
To everything that tries to perpetuate the idea of separation of yourself. You said at the beginning, which is we have this misconception or we live in this illusion
Yeah.
that that we are not complete, and that's why we keep consuming, we keep trying to finding things outside to find that missing piece, but that's just a distraction and just a delusion. And when you get to actually look inside, it's like, fuck, there's something that I can do here, and I can reconnect with myself and connect with my essence. And I don't have to keep living in either avoiding this pain or developing coping mechanisms that they bring at the end. It's created suffering.
You could have said it better. My God. So good. Okay, so is Instagram the only place people can find you?
Is Instagram at Santi dot I forgot it at Santi
I'll find it.
dot o two. I think
That's
so.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Santi dot o two. And I have a website also, which is somatic energy alignment.com.
Is that in your link tree in your
It's in the link tree. So pretty
okay,
much if you go to my Instagram, that's where I share everything that I do.
got it.
You will be able to connect with me there either by a link tree or you just send me a DM. Usually I take time to reply, but I try to do my best to reply to everyone.
It's hard to do it all. And I am so grateful that you responded to my reply. Um, yeah, I was just it's just funny. I don't know, like it just popped up on my Instagram. And I'm like, it's so nice to see the masculine energy coming forward and teaching. Um, we're Kristen and I, we've connected with so many women and so much feminine energy that having that
Mm,
masculine energy to bring that duality is so refreshing.
it
And
is.
yeah.
It is, and that's kind of also part of my purpose is to reconnect men with this kind of work because
Mhm.
it has been so kind of focused into women, and you get there because men we have this big shield and this armor that does not allow us to open up and to be vulnerable. Because yeah, you gotta show always your best face, or you gotta be strong, and that's as a consequence. So we are a byproduct of that society that is totally unhealthy, that promotes kind of toxic values. And part of the work that I'm doing at this moment also is to reconnect with men through men's circles. I actually
Yeah.
just came from a men's circle that was facilitating at a festival, and
Mm,
just trying to do my best to show them that yeah, there's also something for them here.
absolutely. Yeah, you can still be that strong man but be vulnerable at the same time and bring that softer side of you forward. And you're
Yeah,
right. I feel both sexes, we're both very far removed, but I think especially the men, like we're all like, yeah, woman power, but I want to see the men rise up just as
yeah,
I really do. There's really old thoughts and beliefs that are just too much in the forefront, and it's causing a huge disconnect with self. And men play such a huge role in this world, and so do women. But if we don't have each other, then we have nothing. So um, I just want to thank you so much for your time, Santi. I'm so honored to be able to meet you and have you on the podcast and share your knowledge. And I'll put all of your information in our show notes. And so before we close it up, I know you've given so much value and so much wisdom to the table, but is there a message, if you could give, knowing that the world was listening, everybody was listening, if there was a message that you had, what would that be?
I like what you say at certain point, which is not a there is not a quick fix. So just remember that this journey of living your life, it comes with challenges, it comes with problems, it comes with struggles. And the first step is to develop that self-awareness that you have the abilities and the power to overcome all of those, and that you don't need to do it by yourself. You can actually surround yourself by a support system, raise your hand and ask for help.
That's right. Yeah, we can't do it alone.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's so important to live in our own sovereignty, but to we are designed to act as a community. It's innate in us. And
it is.
when we act by ourselves, as we get older, we get things like dementia and Alzheimer's, and I don't even think I said that right, but it's true. We kind of lose our minds. We lose ourselves completely. Well, let's wrap this up. Don't go anywhere, Santi. I'm just turn off the recording, but I just want to thank all of our listeners for listening, and go to the show notes and you'll find exactly where to find Mr. Santiago.
Thank you.
Bye for now.